Well, everyone, hello. This is Pastor Ian, the Krabby Crafter here with the January 2021 Stamps of Life card kit. We're going to get ready to make a few cards using just the kit. We are going to cheat on one card, maybe two. We'll see that. Just as you can see in the video here, I've already pulled all of the cards, all the card stock out. Went ahead and cut out one piece. I'm going to cut out the rest in a minute. We're going to show you how we do that using the stamps and the die set, that comes with the monthly kit. And you can see there the stamps that come with the kit this month. It's a beautiful kit. It's a nice kit with a fish theme, so good all-around purpose theme. And so we're going to be using this kit this month. What I like about the card stock this month is that it's a longer card stock. It's a little bit different. It's not the normal 6x6 pad. And so you can see here the stamps come with it, a little extra set, the You're So Cool, lucky to have a friend like you, with an extra seahorse and fish. So if you want to do your own stamping and coloring, you can do that. We're not going to do that on this card kit. We did that on one of the Christmas card kits. We're not doing that on this one. One of the things that came with this kit, which I really like, the word die that came with it is the Loving Life word die. So we're actually going to use that a couple times. We're going to use that probably on more cards than we needed to, but we're gonna use that this month. Now, remember that the Stamps of Life card stock is double-sided. So when I go through and pull out the cards, I usually just pull out the main side. I rarely use the colored background. If I do use the colored background, it's going to be to augment the main front. You'll see that as we lay out the cards. It's one of the things I don't like about the Stamps of Life. So I always feel bad. I feel like I'm torn between which cardstock I need to use. Should I use the front? Should I use the back? I always feel like I'm losing something when I use two-sided cardstock. But a lot of cardstock comes that way, so you just kind of have to get used to it. But as you can see, this kit's a beautiful kit. It's very colorful, as always. We're going to do one more of these. We're going to be doing the February card kit here in a couple of weeks. We'll have that one posted. That kit has already come out. Actually just arrived in the mail, so we're going to be working on that, and we'll get those out to you shortly. But this is the January card kit, and you see the different color paper that comes with it. We're going to cut that paper down into some 4¼ by 5½ inch rectangles. We're also going to cut and score some of the white so that we'll have our card base for our cards. I did want to show you this one card I made. Actually, I went ahead and made this card. I cheated here because you can see I used some dies that do not come with the card kit, but we're gonna show you that in a minute. We've got, but I did want to show you the extra pieces that come in the kit. We showed you the card stock, but these are the embellishments that you get with the card stock, and this is all of the card that I've already got everything cut, sorted, and ready to go to start making cards. So the next thing we're going to do, so we're going to jump right in with cutting and scoring our cardstock and cutting out our dies. All right, so what we did was what I've done here is gone ahead and pulled out all of my sheets of cardstock, and we're getting it ready. Actually, I want to go back and show you how we cut this. Remember that your size of your cardstock is going to be 5½ by 4¼ so what we're going to do is we're going to take one of the 8½ by 11 inch sheets of cardstock. What I do with those is I cut them in half. I cut down the 11½ side, I cut it down, or the 11-inch side, I cut it down to 5½ flip it, and score it at 4¼ This is going to give me my card base. So if you'll remember that, when you've got an 11-inch, 8½ by 11-inch sheet, cut it in half, take the 11-inch side, cut it at 5½ inches, flip it, score it at 4¼ and you've made a card. Now you can turn that, and that can be vertical or horizontal, but that's going to give you your standard card side. Now with the other card stock, what I do is I just cut it in half. Cut it 8½ by 11. I cut it on the 5½ inch mark, and I'm getting ready to cut it into triangles or rectangles. I'm getting ready to cut it into rectangles, which will be 5½ by 4¼ or 5¼ by 4 if I want a little bit of border. But I'm going to cut those down, and I'm going to use those over the white cardstock. Or I may even fold one of these, score one of these at 4¼ as we did this one, and actually use that as a card base. So you see here we've got 5 card bases ready, and needed some more, so we're going to go ahead and cut the rest of our white cardstock down. We cut it at 5½, score it at 4¼ and that's going to give us our card bases to work with for our designs this month. And you can do that with any card kit you get. And it's really up to you. I like to work with a white card base because you can just add to it. When you use colored, you get a little limited. You have to be careful with what you can put on the inside as far as stamping. If you use a darker colored one, then you're going to wind up wanting to embellish the whole thing. And we're going to do that in another video. We'll show you how to work with darker cardstock in another video. But for now, what I like about the Stamps of Life, it's beautiful, bright colored, quality cardstock. So that is one of the benefits to the Stamps of Life Club. So there's our card bases ready to go. So I wanted to take just a quick minute and show you this. This is my sketchbook for card making. I encourage you to begin developing one of these. If you see a card style you like, go ahead and put it in your sketchbook so that later on as you're making cards, you'll kind of know how you want to lay out your card and your ephemera and all of your embellishments and everything. So I encourage you to do that. You can buy card layouts, but that's up to you if you want to do that. I haven't bought any. There's so many free ones out there. Just do a search for card layouts. You can even find them on Pinterest. Go ahead and find a good card layout that you like, and just start building your own sketchbook. And if you find a card you like in the store, don't be afraid to steal the design. Okay, as long as you're not selling, you're not marketing, you're not doing anything. You don't want to do anything that's not done with integrity. Obviously, we're card makers. We don't want to steal somebody else's material. But if you see a style you like and you're making it for your friends or something like that, feel free to use that. All right. So what we're doing here now is we are cutting out the word dies. So you can see I've taken that beautiful yellow cardstock and I'm cutting the shadow die for the Loving Life, and I'm cutting out a couple of those. Those are going to be ready to go and use as the foundation for when we actually cut out the words. Now those, I'm going to use adhesive. You'll see me using adhesive sheets. Adhesive sheets are wonderful. You can get them anywhere. Stamps of Life does sell those as well. It's going to make it a lot easier with the finer die. You're going to see in some of the cards that I made, I didn't use that. I wanted to show you how it works when you use a precision glue tip. So you'll see that as well. So what we're cutting out now are the words. Actually, what I'm first doing is we're going to put that adhesive on there, and then we're going to cut out the words. I'm going to speed things up just a little bit because we've got a lot of ground we want to cover in this video, and you don't need to see all this in slow motion. All right, so you can see we're putting the adhesive sheet on the back of the cardstock here. I really recommend these adhesive sheets. They make it so much easier when you're working with a fine die, a very intricate die, especially something like this, as you're going to see. And I'm actually going to show you on the video. You'll see where I use both the adhesive sheets as well as precision glue. If you can get the adhesive sheets, use them. You'll see why. The video is going to be sped up, and what you won't see as I grab my little tools and I'm pulling the letters out and I'm doing all these different things is you won't see how much time it actually takes. Just realize this is about 4 times faster. So when you see it taking me a minute, it's actually like 4 minutes. Okay. Also want to let you guys know that if you're not, this is something that if you can't do this and relax and do it, if this gets frustrating for you, if making cards is frustrating for you, you may want to find a different hobby. This is actually incredibly therapeutic for me, and I think for most card makers. When this takes time. You sit down, I do a little work, I come back, do a little more work. You may notice in these videos that my sleeves, the things I'm wearing are different, the lighting changes. I'm not a professional crafter. I don't sit down and in 1 or 2 hours make a video. I may film this over the process of a week on my iPhone. And so feel free, guys, to let this be relaxing. If it's not, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. So just relax and enjoy it. I apologize for my hair getting in the way there. I didn't have the phone position where I wanted it in this video, so you'll see my head pop in the video a few times. So I apologize for that. So we're going to go ahead and we're just cutting out all of our words. We're getting everything ready to go. You'll see that I do make a couple of passes. The reason for that is there were a few times where it didn't cut all the way through on that very first cut, and I realized that. So don't think just one time through your die cutting machine. Go ahead and do 2, 3, even 4 passes. Now you see how I'm using my little tool to poke out the letters and get everything out. This one's going to be a little different. Now, you'll notice that as I poke the letters out of the Loving Life, you're going to notice that what's left is you're going to be left with a shadow. All right, keep that. You're going to see how we use that. There's 2 things we can do. Number one, you've got the shadowed die itself, those yellow ones that we cut out, and we're going to put the letters over there. They're going to be beautiful. But when you finish cutting the Loving Life, like out of this purple cardstock here, you're going to be left with a reverse image, and you can actually trim that down and cut that out and put that over colored cardstock. If you're really fun and you're really into puzzles, you can take the different colored letters and reinsert them into a different color cardstock. You can put the yellow letters on the purple outline or the purple letters on the yellow outline. And so we'll actually show you that as we get into some of these videos. So you see, it just takes a little bit of time, just grabbing my tool and cutting everything out. I will say that on one of the purple ones, for some reason, because my machine is a little bit older and because my die cutting plates are well worn and used, I didn't get a good contact. So there was a few letters when I went to pull them out, the cardstock wanted to tear. That wasn't the quality of the cardstock. That was just me learning to follow my own advice and make more than one pass and make sure that the card is positioned well inside your die cutting plates and in your sandwich in your machine. So if you don't have a die cutting machine, you're going to be limited. You're going to be very limited when it comes to Stamps of Life card kit. I think I've said this before. When you're using a kit like the Stamps of Life, you want to make sure you have a good die cutting machine. There's several different ones, small ones. I've actually got 3. I've got the Tim Holtz Vagabond 2, which has now been discontinued. They're coming out with a brand new one. I've also got a couple of the Spellbinders die cutting machines. I even have the larger one, which will cut an actual 8.5 by 11 inch sheet of cardstock. So you see here, I'm just taking the letters now, peeling them off, and as you pull those out and peel them off, it leaves the background, that sticky white, that's the background, so the letters are now sticky. Forgot the I, got to go back and put the I in Loving Life. So as you peel this off, the letters stick right to your shadow die. If you don't have those adhesive sheets, you're going to have to use a precision tip glue because you're dealing with fine letters that you're trying to glue on cardstock. And if you're not a very patient person, again, if you get frustrated easily, you're going to have a hard time with card making when it comes to things like this. That beautiful Loving Life, when I'm finished with the red on the yellow, so beautiful. And I did that. Yes, I used tools. I had a die, and I had a machine and cardstock and everything that was supplied for me. But that is mine. I've made that. And even though I'm making 2 of these, they're going to be, each one's going to be slightly different. Those letters aren't going in the exact same spot. And you could even get a little wonky with it if you wanted to. You could even twist the letters a little bit inside the shadow box. But when you're done with this, you've made it. And there's, as I've said on my blog and as I said on my website, there's to me, there's something wonderful in creating. The gift, the ability to create, this is what I always say, the ability to create is a gift from God. And all of us have more creativity in us than we realize. So I want to encourage you to just have fun with what you're doing. Now what I'm doing here is I'm trimming down those shadow pieces, as I said, because we're going to go back and we're going to use that. And we flip that over and peel off the white from the back of the red, I've now got that outline. Now this is important. Notice that big hole in the red O there in the Loving Life, and you see up at top there, you see the 2 little red, 2 little purple round pieces and the red round piece. Don't lose those. You're going to need those to go inside the shadow, unless you just like the big open hole, and sometimes you can do that. But don't lose any of your little pieces, because if you do go and fill them back in, you're going to need them. On this one, we're going to use one of the purple ones to actually peel off the back. So you take out, that's the round part there. You keep that part, but the part that came out of the middle of that will have to go back inside one of your reverse image dies if you want to do that. So make sure you don't throw any of your pieces away by accident. Oh, I peeled everything off. I don't need this anymore. You're going to put a word together and it's going to look kind of funny. So make sure you don't do that. And so what we're going to do now is going to show you what it looks like when you use the fine tip precision glue to put these letters down. So what I've actually done is got my little tweezer tool there and got a little fine liner glue and just trying to put just a small amount of glue on there. There's a couple different ones. That one's actually a little bit of a broader fine line. I'm not sure. I think I may grab, later in this video, I may grab a bottle. I have a different one that I use, a little plastic bottle with a very fine metal tip, which you get, you can refill it with any glue you want. You can also buy them from the different craft places. But when you don't have the adhesive sheet, you can see that you have to take each piece, you have to try and get the glue on it just right, get the letters positioned just right. You can see there I got the I a little too close to the N, and so I don't think I wound up using this one, I don't remember. But once you kind of get these things glued down, they are not coming back up off of that cardstock. That's whether you're using adhesive sheets or anything. If you press it down, they are designed to last. So this is what it looks like if you don't have adhesive sheets. And please remember, we did speed this up. So if you're doing this real time, it's going to take longer than the others. But when it's done, you can see they still look just as good. Now, another thing I want to show you here is I wanted to show you how we were talking about earlier when I talked about keeping those inner pieces. You see how you could take that purple and insert it in the blue? If you were putting this over a piece of card, you could just put those pieces, just snap right back in. You got to turn the end the right way, and they just snap right back in. So that's one of the techniques you can use, and we'll show that in a video at another time. But for now, this will give you the idea of what we're talking about when we talk about using these dies and these fine dies with adhesive sheets and precision glue. You get something that looks a little bit like that. So what I want to do now is I want to show you guys, I went to Michael's and I found on clearance, and I'm actually trimming that purple one down to use it later, but I found on clearance a set of dies from Stamps of Life. Not those, we actually wound up not using those, but this one right here was $5 at Michael's. And so we're actually going to go ahead and cut some of that out and use that on the one that I showed you at the very beginning instead of the blue one that I said I cheated on. They had the ribbon. This is how we did it. I actually just laid those dies in there and cut out a couple of rectangles. And when you layer them like you can see I'm doing there down there in the corner, you're going to wind up getting several pieces. You're going to get the one that I'm putting together now is going to give me that middle piece. It's going to say thanks. And it's also going to give me a larger piece and a smaller border piece. And you're going to see here that I cut through several times to make sure that we cut all the way through that. So when we're all said and done, I now have two outline pieces, and I have this little piece, which once we poke everything out, actually says thanks. And so that was a great find at Michael's. And as I've said before with the Stamps of Life, just add to the kit. Keep the kit each month. Some of the dies will work well in other kits, but you really are going to need to add other dies over time to your collection, just so that you can make your cards a little more attractive and give a little more variation to your cards. And on this particular one, you do have to go through and punch out all those tiny little holes, that little stitching, just to make sure that it looks the way it's supposed to look. Okay? And then once we're done, you always want to put your dies back in their case so that you don't lose those. All right, so all of our pieces have been cut out and laid out. All my designs are laid out, and now we're going to start assembling cards. So we're going to do what we normally do. I'm going to go ahead and stop talking, put on a little music so you can watch in high speed as we assemble these cards. Just a reminder, all these cards are designs that came out of my sketchbook. And what we're doing here on this first card is just a little bit of a layering technique. We put the green to match the white, 5.5 by 4.25 over the card base, and then we use that turtle cardstock that's just a little bit smaller, about a 1/2 inch all the way around. And then we're using one of those Loving Life dies, one of the little bows that came in the kit, to give this one a little bit of dimension. You also see off to the right there one of the turtles that we fussy cut. Didn't show you all of the die cutting that I did on this one. I think I lost that video. I meant to show it and I'm not sure what I did with it. But we did cut out, we did use the dies to cut out all of the fish and the seaweed and the fish tanks. And so you'll see those being used in this kit. But this is one of the turtles I fussy cut, and I just stuck it over that other turtle just to give it a little bit of dimension there, like a turtle's trying to leave the card, if you will. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and just put on some music, let you enjoy as we make the rest of these cards. And hopefully this will give you a lot of good ideas of your own. And again, if you see a layout that you like, feel free to take it and put that in your sketchbook. Well, all right, guys. Again, I do apologize for not having some of the die cutting in there, but you've seen all the cards have been put together. So what we're doing now is we're going back through and we're going to take the stamps and we're going to put our sentiments on these cards. And for most of these cards, if you notice, the only thing we had on the outside was the loving life. So what I'm doing now is just using a stamp block and making sure I'm getting them inked up well and getting it good, base good and ready to go. And we're just putting the sentiments on the inside of the card. So we're going to take all these different cards and going to put them on the inside. We're going to put a few on the outside of some of the cards, you'll see that. But just to finish up the project, we're going to go back and use these stamps. I felt like this card kit was very much designed as a friendship card kit based on the stamp, which says, I'm so lucky to have a friend like you. You are fantastic. So great whimsical stamp set. And so we just went with a friend theme for this particular set. So we're just finishing it up here by putting these on there. Now, if you have other stamps in your collection, feel free to use those. I started to bring some of those out, but as I said, I wanted to keep this kit unique to the Stamps of Life. You see here, this is the card that we made where we got a little creative with, went back and used that sewn or that stitched border. And what we're going to do with this one is we're going to put the "You are fantastic." I'm just trying to figure out my layout there. Do I want to go with one piece? Decided we want to do it that way. But feel free to use whatever you want to use when you're putting your sentiments on your cards. But one thing I like about the Stamps of Life is you can take the kit and you can make a number of cards, easily make 10 cards from the kit. And when it's all said and done, you're going to have a set of stamps that you can use on other cards. Down there, "You are fantastic." You can use that on any card, whether it's a fish tank or not. Use another card with another fish or another stamp. But you can also reuse these dies and stamps. You can actually stamp out the fish tank and the fish and then color it in yourself. So you don't need the cardstock. It's one of the great things about the Stamps of Life. If you don't want to get the card kit, if you just want to get the stamps and dies at the that come at the beginning of the month, if you just want to start with the Stamp and Die Club, you can do that, and you can stamp out, then die cut and color in your own card making pieces. So I apologize if my brain's not working much today. We're trying to kind of wrap up this video. There's "I fish you a great birthday." A little cheesy, but I love it. And we're going to take this loving life, and was trying to decide if I wanted to put something on the outside of this and wound up just sticking with something on the inside. Trying to decide if I wanted to use a different sentiment. And so on this one, I think we decided to go with the "You're so cool." And then we've also got these neat little things here. They have little fish bubble stamps that came with. So we're actually going to use some of those fish bubble stamps. We're going to put that on some of the fish and on some of the different tanks. Left that one alone. And then we just use these little bubbles to kind of just give a little something extra to each of the cards. So we're winding down here, guys. When we're all said and done, we're going to show you the cards, and that's going to complete this month's Stamps of Life card kit, or at least the cards made from the kit. You can also go to their website. They're going to have a lot more ideas, a lot better ideas, a lot more creative people out there. But again, don't try and be somebody else when you're making cards. Be you. Take the ideas that work for you and enjoy creating cards. Make something that you would be willing, number one, to receive yourself, but make something with the idea that I want to give this to someone. I want to give this to someone who will appreciate the fact that I took the time to make them a card. So with that in mind, that gives us the 7 cards we made from the kit this month. We could have made a lot more. You're going to see we got a lot of pieces left over. But we're going to put those in the box, and we'll have those when we make cards down the road. And you get a day when you're feeling crafty or creative, just grab that scrap box with all your leftover pieces and just sit down and make a card. So as always, guys, I trust that you're doing well, staying safe. I pray that you will all be blessed. Have a blessed day. And until next time, happy crabby crafting. This is Pastor Ian. God bless you. See you next time.